Dear Benedicte, dear students, colleagues, dear friends of NHH, welcome to the Lehmkuhl Lecture 2025. This annual lecture is an important event at NHH. The lecture is given in honor of the founding father of NHH, former cabinet minister Kristofer Lehmkuhl. Mr. Lehmkuhl was a businessman and a politician, and at the height of his political career, he was appointed a cabinet minister in the government of 1905. This was important, but even more important is the fact that he was an untiring champion for NHH. He founded Foreningen for Norges Handelshøyskole i Bergen, or the Association in Support of a Norwegian Business School in Bergen. And that turned out, as you all can see, to be a success. In 1917, the government decided to establish NHH. And due to World War I and dramatic times, NHH started its activities in 1936. But right up to his death in 1949, he followed the activities at the school with an ever-weakening interest. Mr. Lehmkuhl's birthday is the 26th of September, which is tomorrow, and every fall we honor his memory by this annual lecture in his name. This year, we honored and happy that Benedicte Schilbred Fasmer accepted our invitation to give the Lehmkuhl Lecture. Benedicte is, of course, a graduate from NHH, and she's also, incidentally, NHH Alumni of the Year. Her background is mostly within the financial services industry, with positions in Citibank, Pareto Securities, Argentum Asset Management, DNB, and more recently, as CEO of Sparebank 1 SR-Bank. She has also held positions in shipping and the food industry. And now, as most of you should know, she's the CEO of Telenor Group, an international telecom company with over 11,000 employees all over the world and with 80 billion NOK in revenue. Benedicte has also had numerous board positions, and she is, importantly, a member of the FACTI panel, which is the United Nations High Panel on Financial Accountability, Transparency, and Integrity. Now, at NHH, our main objectives, at least one of them, is to educate excellent leaders with a strong commitment to society and who are able to face and tackle challenging times of change and uncertainty. And it's also our responsibility to educate leaders with a deep understanding of digital technologies and AI and how technology will impact businesses and society in the years to come. I'm sure Benedicte will give you some food for thought on these issues during her lecture. And one final point before I introduce Benedicte. Now, after this Benedicte's lecture, we will also open for questions from the audience, so please save a question or two so we can have an interaction with Benedicte after her talk. So now, dear Benedicte, the floor is yours, and we look forward to your talk.
Thank you, and thank you so much. It's great to be back here, and it's also a bit weird, because I think the first time I was on this stage, I was 16, and I was dancing jazz ballet. And this is a kind of a very different setting. Everyone remembers their first love. I certainly do. I wasn't very old. I was convinced that I'd found the one and that we were made for each other. It was intense, all-consuming, and it made me forget time and place. The one who had won my heart was the Norwegian School of Economics. It was actually my father who introduced us. He too was in love with NHH, first as a student and later when he became a professor here. And going with my father to work with Emma as my babysitter was the best thing I knew. Everything about the school fascinated me. The lecture halls, all the exciting books, the enormous computer called Emma, that filled an entire room and was incredibly impressive at the time. Today, she stands at the Museums of Science and Technology in Oslo, old and outdated. But Emma reminds me of something very important. You need to stay updated, learn new things, and fill up with fresh knowledge. Not settle for what you know today, but ask yourself what you should know for tomorrow. And if you keep doing that for the rest of your life, hopefully you'll avoid ending up in a museum yourself. My father was a professor of finance and specialized in portfolio management and petroleum economics. He loved immersing himself in his subjects. And I loved immersing myself in his subjects as well. At 16, I got to proofread his book, Stocks and Bonds, and I couldn't have been happier. I just loved digging into his models about currencies, interest rates, and covariances. I also got a great taste for student life. My first Uken experience was when Uken was revived in 1980, and when I sneaked in at the age of 15. And now I've revealed my age, right? But as we all know, a crush rarely lasts forever. And the same thing happened to me and NHH. I started doubting my feelings. Did I really love finance and economics? Or was it just my father's enthusiasm rubbing off on me? I needed a break, and I took 2 years off from Bergen and NHH. And sometimes it's actually healthy to pause, to ask yourself, what do I really want to spend my life on? And don't be afraid to take a short break. And most of you here will probably work until you're 70, maybe even longer. Oh, and in that case, it's wise to spend some time figuring out what you truly want. I actually tested out finance before starting at NHH, and I wanted to see what everyday life in finance looked like in practice. And after 2 years as a trainee in Oslo and Paris, I was still in no doubt. This was what I wanted to do, and this is what I love. And NHH and we were meant for one another. Technology is fantastic. And I've always been fascinated by new and smart technology. Like my smartwatch, for instance, right now, as I stand here, it's measuring my heart rate. If I check, it will probably tell me I had a slightly elevated pulse some 5 minutes ago before I started this lecture. And if I want, it can analyze my sleep. It can measure my heart rate variability to show whether my body is in balance or if my body battery is kind of leveling off, if I'm tired, or even if I'm getting sick. If I were to fall hiking up Ulriken or end up in a car accident, the watch could send an emergency message to my chosen contacts. And if I get carried away during this lecture, my communications director can send me a discreet vibrating SMS reminder. Please don't, Thomas. Remember Emma, the giant computer, my babysitter, that once filled a whole room here at NHH, now at the Museum of Science at and technology. That machine had a storage capacity equivalent of 17.5 kilobytes. And it weighed 2.5 tons. This watch weighs 60 grams, has 32 gigs or gigabytes of storage, and that means that it has 1.8 million times the capacity of Emma. And we live in a time where technological development is faster than ever before in history. In 2007, when the first iPhone was introduced, back then the internet was painfully slow compared to what we experience today. And only 15% of the world's population had access. Most of those people lived in Western countries and accessed or went online on desktop computers. Smartphones were actually rare. Today, nearly 70% of the world's population has internet access, largely thanks to smartphones and telcos like Telenor. And that is truly revolutionary. It tears down barriers in society, and it actually democratizes, in inverted commas, knowledge. Think about how many more people now have access to information, education, or financial services. How many can start their own business almost regardless of where they live? How many can access health care online, even in remote places where almost no other services exist? All this thanks to the internet and the powerful little computer that we all carry in our pockets. So we owe a lot to modern technology. Raise your hand if you felt life got a little bit dull during COVID-19. Nearly all, nearly all of you. I promise you, it would have been much duller without a strong internet. Think about how fast the COVID-19 vaccines were developed. Normally, that would have taken 10 to 15 years. And at that time, or this time, it took less than 1 year. And that was thanks to new vaccine technology and machine learning. COVID-19 marked a paradigm shift in health technology. And that shift has only just begun. In November of last year, it's less than a year ago. No, sorry, it will be 3 years since ChatGPT was launched. And that was when generative AI really entered our everyday lives. The potential for efficiency, productivity, and value creation is enormous. And McKinsey estimates that the generative AI could contribute to $4.4 trillion in increased value creation every year. And that is about the size of Germany's GDP. It's hard not to get excited about all the huge opportunities that open up with artificial intelligence. Now I'm asking only the students here. How many of you use ChatGPT or another AI engine in your studies? Raise your hand. Only 3 students on that side. ChatGPT is fantastic, and it's only one of many powerful AI tools that will become vastly more important and powerful in the years ahead. But it's also important to understand what that technology does to us and how it works. How many of you here are professors or teachers at the school? And how many of you think that today's students should be critical as to how they use AI? And how many think that AI has made teaching a bit more challenging? Half of you. And how many of you think that AI has made the student smarter? One. AI tools can be extremely useful, but you should reflect on how you use them. This summer, I came across a study by MIT Media Lab called Your Brain on ChatGPT. It examined how using ChatGPT and using a search engine or no digital help at all affected the brain activity and learning when writing an essay. And 54 participants were divided into 3 groups. One used ChatGPT, one used a search engine, and the third group wrote without any help. And these essays were analyzed linguistically and academically, and brain activity was measured using electrodes. The group relying on their own brain showed the strongest and most widespread brain activity. The search engine users showed moderate brain engagement. The ChatGPT users had the weakest brain activity, just here in the back of the head, and the lowest sense of ownership of their texts. They also remembered less of what they'd written, produced less original work. Over time, they became more passive, and they were copying more and more directly from AI. My point is, learn the tools, but use them wisely. They can help us, make us more efficient, and they are improving extremely fast. But when it comes to truly unique ideas or text, the human brain is still the most extraordinary tool. Never stop using it. So, how many of you have been to Silicon Valley? Raise your hand. Quite a number. Just a few weeks ago, I went on an incredibly inspiring trip there, visiting some of our partners, NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Cisco. And strengthening our collaboration with them is not only about innovation for Telenor, it's also about how we shape tomorrow's society. We saw, for instance, how advanced AI and digital twins, which is a digital copy of, in this case, a city, can make us rethink how we organize communications in cities. For example, we got demonstrations as to how we can visualize radio waves movement through real urban environments. And we're taking into account even the different building shapes and how the different material impacted on the waves. And this has a potential to revolutionize how telco companies plan, optimize, and secure networks. But what inspired me the most was the bigger picture. It's not just about building smarter and more secure networks for Telenor. It's actually about leading the way for our industry, developing superior AI infrastructure, and ensuring that digital transformation is both sustainable and responsible. Ultimately, this is about using technology to make every day simpler, safer, and more connected for our customers and the societies we work in. And now you may wonder, why on earth is she standing at the business school going on about technology? because today technology is a huge impact on value creation. You, the leaders of tomorrow, actually need to understand this. You need to fight for technology to have an even bigger role here at NHH. I've pushed for it myself, and I know it's well underway, but I still think it's really, really important. Until a few years ago, the path to top leadership was through economics, finance, and strategy. And today, many of the top leaders in global companies come from tech backgrounds, like Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Meta, Tesla, to mention a few. And to date, leaders have education and training as leaders of people. You will probably lead teams which are a combination of people and AI agents. And that requires a new set of skills. It now looks as if Europe is lagging behind the US and China, while the US and China surges ahead in technology development. We need to change that. In China, at Huawei, one of the most advanced tech companies in the world, they've spent 20% of sales on research, and 54% of their employees work in research and development. That translates into 120,000 people who work with every day to invent the technology that will change our future. That is actually 30 times the number of full-time students here at NHH. And it even exceeds the population of Stavanger. On top of that, they are joined by new AI agents as colleagues every day. And the AI agents do not need breaks, they do not sleep, and they actually are not paid. At Telenor, there is not one single discussion in the leadership team that doesn't involve technology. At the same time, we must be very careful not to just blindly implement technology. We need to think strategically about how it can best be put to use and create real value. And the competence in demand for the future will shift from software developers writing code, who we've been searching for the last years, into competence in describing and explaining complex problems and ideas or outcomes for AI to do the coding. And we will need more critical minds with good ethics. You need to learn strategic use of technology and digital business models. You need to understand technology so you can help develop it for the good of society. Technology is fantastic, but we can't let it run wild. And especially not when it develops at an exponential pace with generative and agentic AI. And we cannot risk that the technology we actually build our societies on is controlled by companies, countries, or persons with the wrong intentions. No AI system is better than the data it is trained on. It's actually still shit in, shit out. Who will safeguard our data? Our research data, our personal data, so that AI does not change facts and reality beyond recognition? Who will safeguard common sense when computing power and AI dominate the development of science and technology. Learn the tools, but stay critical. Ask questions. And be a bit stingy with your data. Even though my watch can do amazing things, I don't let it do everything. I don't share all the data it collects. I don't want app developers to know my location at all times, my heart rhythm, or how I spend my money. And most of us say we have nothing to hide. But let's try a little experiment. Close your eyes. And imagine if every text, snap, message you've ever sent from your phone, what if all of those became known to your friends, your exes, your lovers, your colleagues? How many of your relationships would actually survive that? And imagine if you put a powerful AI application on top of that. Our digital lives are vulnerable. We are vulnerable. And that's why we must be very careful who we trust, not only in the real world, but also in the digital world. Use your head when using new technology, and use the tools smartly. I have so many cards, I had to do it in 2. So, let me tell you about Dayal Chandra. He lives in a small village in Bangladesh, surrounded by green rice fields. He's a young boy with big ambitions, but no education. Many of his relatives live in India, and his family wants him to study there. But Dayal wants to stay in Bangladesh and make a difference. During COVID lockdowns, he began watching motivational videos on YouTube, most of them in English. He found online communities with others eager to learn English, and using only his phone and mobile coverage, of course from Telenor, he slowly but securely improved his English. At first, his plan was to learn English so he could teach it to other people in the village. But soon he realized he could actually reach many more people. So he started uploading videos on YouTube, and right from the rice fields next to where he lives. And today, Dayal's YouTube channel has 217,000 subscribers. And he uses it to inspire followers in many different ways. And this is a story how connectivity can transform individuals and entire societies. In a rural corner of Bangladesh, where opportunities were few and the future uncertain, Dayal worlds grew bigger through a SIM card and internet access. And connectivity is very much more than entertainment and news. Digital inclusion gives people like Dayal completely new opportunities. And behind every cell tower and data package, there are countless stories like this. But communication can also be misused. In a changing, uncertain, and brutal world, it becomes clear how Telenor's social responsibility is large, complex, and important. The parliamentary election that just took place was the first election in Norway where Gen AI was widely available. And AI-generated disinformation is becoming an increasingly pressing issue also here at home. How can we know what is true when those who try to manipulate us can use advanced AI tools to tailor targeted messages? How do we safeguard trust, truth, and openness in our democracies when more and more seek to undermine these values? At Telenor, we are committed to supporting efforts that strengthen critical thinking, digital resilience, and responsible technology use. Our responsibility extends much further than giving people like Dayal mobile coverage. We are actually an important part of Norway's total defense, protecting against cyber warfare, securing base stations, hospitals, police, emergency networks, and ensuring communication works even in war. In Telenor, we have a great responsibility for cybersecurity, both for the nation, for businesses, and individuals. In 2024 alone, we stopped 2.2 billion digital crime attempts. That's more than 6 million every day. And as more information moves online, we become more vulnerable. And as more people access internet and cloud services, there are also more who can be attacked. But there is hope. We are getting better at detecting and stopping attacks. Security systems are getting more advanced. And you, sitting here, are more digitally competent than any generation before you. You've grown up with digital tools, you've never seen a landline, and you are our hope. You have strong instincts, you master new tools, you do not automatically accept what your professors say, sorry to say that, but you also check alternative sources. And that can be a good thing. But as long as you stay critical, also to the use of your own sources. There is a lot of nonsense on TikTok and YouTube. But with good tools, knowledge, healthy skepticism, you can be a powerful force against disinformation and fraud. And you can actually help protect the truth and democratic values in an increasingly vulnerable and manipulated public sphere. So, standing here today with all you students and professors, I'm reminded actually why my years here at NHH were some of the happiest of my life. I remember the joy of being part of a community, meeting new people, building friendships, and becoming part of something bigger. The bonds I built during my studies have been really valuable for me throughout my career. And they have meant much more than the hours I spent by myself in the library studying. No one becomes great by themselves. Not as a student, not at work, and not in life. And that's why it's so important to spend time cultivating more than yourself. Be social, not only on social media. Do things with others, not because it looks good on a CV, but because it's fun. Put down your phone and discover what happens outside the screen. Put it down on dates. and during lectures, turn off notifications and try to be present in the moment. Soak up knowledge and learn from one another. Stress a little less and try not to worry too much about the future. Instead, enjoy yourself here and now. Enjoy Bergen, enjoy each other, read your textbooks, but read other books too. Be proud of yourselves when you achieve something. And don't worry too much if one exam doesn't quite go as planned. Do something that scares you. Step outside of your comfort zone. Raise your hand when you have a question, and chances are that someone else is wondering the same thing. Engage in student life. Join Uken. Drink beer. But remember to drink a little bit of water as well. Learn new tools, but don't forget to use your head. Be smart, but not lazy. Be curious, be critical. Get up in the morning and stand for what you believe in. Learn to program, but also to dance. Go to lectures, be present in the lectures, and go hiking in the mountains. Be true to yourself. Do things that actually make you happy. Fall in love. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Benedicte, for a truly inspiring lecture. Now, before opening for questions, I take liberty of asking one myself. I even made notes now during your talk. And you mentioned this MIT study. I think it's called Your Brain on ChatGPT.
Yes.
And I share some of the same concern, because as generative AI facilitates what you might call some shadow learning. So you produce these brilliant results in a report or a paper or a product, but you have a poor understanding of the underlying process of what actually went on the methodology. And as you said, you also have less ownership to the final product. So how should we, as a business school, think about this and approach this topic or problem?
This is actually the very big dilemma, isn't it? Because, as you say, what you can actually get of help makes you more efficient and so on. But I think, to learn is what you actually do when you take a high education. And to formulate problems and solve them is actually what you learn. And I still think that if you don't activate your brain and train, you won't be good at it. And as I said also in my lecture, I think the demand for people with that capability or those capabilities will be much more in demand going forward.
And you also mentioned your trip to Silicon Valley. And I've saw some reports now that, the demand for programmers at Silicon Valley is really on the downslope because AI is doing the job in a way. So what will be the key skill going forward? Is it asking the kind of interesting questions? Is that the key competence going forward? Yeah.
What came through when we were in Silicon Valley is that what was really in demand just now is the programmers that are not necessarily the most efficient in programming and writing code, but those who can actually have experience in testing and again, formalizing problems or tasks and testing it and being very critical to what comes out of the programming, so that you have a sound both ethic and quality of what's coming out. And I also think when it comes to leadership, the ability to work in a combination of technology and people will be, what we have to to learn and train going forward.
Because how do you lead leaders who kind of lead agents, AI agents? Because that will be, in not many years to come, the skill to do. Yeah.
So that's a new class in NHH, right?
Yeah. And they're all here. So we have some microphones at the sides here. Any questions to Benedicte on the side here first? Jenny?
Yes, hi. I was just wondering, we're talking about technology in school and as a student, but in your personal life, are you, for example, accepting cookies when you're going into different websites? Like, how are we actually handling our personal data in daily life?
I didn't quite hear what the full question was. A bit difficult to hear what you were saying. Can you repeat?
Are you accepting cookies when going into...
Accepting cookies?
Yes, like trying to hold close to your personal data.
I didn't like that question because if I'm honest, sometimes it's so easy just to say yes, and just because you want to get things done, right? And you accept it. So I actually do sometimes. But what I found out is that if you don't accept them, it still works. So you can say no, right? It took me a bit of time before I realized that, but now I actually say no more than I say yes.
Say no to cookies.
If that's what you got out of this lecture, I mean, that's really good.
Another question in the back there.
Hello, my name is Tore. I was wondering, throughout your years, who has been your role model and what's some of the best advices you have gotten in your life?
To the first question, I don't think I've ever had, a poster on the wall with some kind of hero. I've kind of learned and picked up things from various people, and it may be from various positions. So I've never had, a kind of a star or someone that I've really looked up to, but I've really admired people for different reasons and tried to kind of learn and copy things from them. And but the best advice, I think it's two very simple things. If you're thinking about work life, it's actually not to be too concerned about where you're going next, but actually do what you're doing in the best way possible. And if you do that well, the next position or the next opportunity will arise. So don't kind of be too obsessed with that is my next position or this is the way I want to go, but be open and try to learn and excel in what you're actually doing, because that will be seen and that will bring you to the next exciting thing to do. And the other thing I've learned is it's actually very important to choose who you want to work with, and particularly your boss or your leader. A very boring position can be extremely interesting if you have a good leader, because then you would kind of develop it together, and vice versa. You can have the world's nicest title and looks great on paper, but if you don't have a good boss or some people you want to work with, it won't be fun.
Question here in the front.
We have a very scary future, as you describe it, and Telenor is also trying to protect us from all the fake news, all the problems that you have described. What can you say to give us hope?
That we have excellent students like here at NHH. We have young people who are actually, have developed a sense or critical sense, whatever that is in English.
Critical mindset.
Critical mindset. but also that we collectively have to be, each and every one of us, because we are the ones being targeted in every way, and we have to be mindful of how we operate and how we use data. And I also think that it will be very difficult to regulate ourselves out of this and to think that this will be protected by the politicians or by regulations, because the way it's spread, that will be very, very difficult in practice. So it demands more from each and every one of us.
One question over there.
Hello, my name is Eirik, and I'm a first-year student here at NHH. As an experienced leader, I'm certain you have some insights in the set of skills, for example, personal abilities, the personality needed to be a leader both today and in the future. So my question to you is, if you were in my place as a first-year student here at NHH, how would you start to acquire those skills, maybe especially the personal ones, needed to be a leader in the future?
I actually think that you are in the best place in the world to gain that experience. And you can do it without a high risk, because here you have so many activities and projects that you engage in as students, and where you will learn actually how to lead. And the most difficult thing to lead is actually peers and peer students, at the school. So I think, I joined, when I was here, I did everything from joining Uken, where lots of 600 students, doing Uken. That was a leadership experience. I was also engaged in Næringslivssymposia and arranged that, where I learned, how actually big leaders in big companies were just normal people like you and I. And I was the auditor of the student association, of all things, towards the end. But engage in the student activities. It gives you an experience that you can gain here that you can't get anywhere else. And you'll actually get quite big leadership positions by doing it if you want to. And it's fun too.
I think that actually was a beautiful final remark or question. Let's leave it at that. Thanks so much, Benedicte, for a brilliant lecture, inspiring lecture, and we look forward to collaborating with you and Telenor in the years to come. So I have a small token of appreciation. Some books, obviously. Oh. Not digital, physical books. And a flower for you. Oh, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Now, please be seated for the last but important event this morning, which is the Lehmkuhl Grant. So please welcome the chair of the Lehmkuhl Grant, Hugo Matre.
Thank you, Principal. My name is, as you already have heard, Hugo Matre. I'm chairing the Lehmkuhl Foundation. Kristofer Lehmkuhl's Fund for Promotion of Norwegian Business was established in 1920 by Kristofer Lehmkuhl, who, as you already have heard from the Principal, was Minister of State in Christian Michelsen's government in 1905. And he was a leading businessman here in Bergen. Kristofer Lehmkuhl received the June 7th medal, which is a Norwegian medal commemorating the dissolution of the Union with Sweden in 1905. Every year on June 7th of June, the fund board distributes funds to promote Norwegian's business. This year, the Funds Board decided to allocate 50,000 to the Lehmkuhl Scholarship at NHH. The purpose of the Lehmkuhl grant is to acknowledge NHH students or recent graduates who show exceptional abilities in the area of innovation and/or entrepreneurship. Or, to quote the status of the grant, students who have made particular efforts in a field of practical importance in business context. The criteria is that the Lehmkuhl grant should be awarded for a master thesis in the field of innovation and entrepreneurship. The thesis should be related to new products or services, to new business models. It should directly or indirectly contribute to innovation, and it should be of high academic quality. Nominated master theses have been assessed by a committee here at NHH, consisting of Axel Mjøs, Øyvind Nilsen, Tina Sabel, and Bram Timmermans. And we have also this year a winning thesis. The thesis examines how offshore supporting vessel can improve energy efficiency by optimizing vessel heading during dynamic positioning. Drawing on operational and weather data from a Norwegian OSV, it demonstrates that heading strongly influences the power use and that adjustment can reduce fuel consumption and emission by approximately 15.5%. And knowing that bunkers is the most costly part of the cost, that's quite important for the services. The candidates have developed a digital decision support tool which offers a practical approach to emission reduction. The model recommends optimal headings and is designed for integration into a decision support dashboard. The thesis has attracted attention during presentation to scholars, industry practitioners, and policymakers, as the topic is innovative and of high societal relevance. The suggested solution shows strong potential for practical application, even without a company startup, as of yet, I suppose. Taken together, the quality, originality, and practical value of the work make it an excellent and award-worthy contribution to the Lehmkuhl grant. The Lehmkuhl grant for 2025 goes to Oliver Karlsen and Martin Sollesnes Kleppe. Please attend me here. The prize is for the thesis Vessel Heading Optimization, with the subtitle A Techno-Economic Optimization of Vessel Heading for Energy-Efficient Dynamics Positioning of Offshore Support Vessel. The supervisor has been Gabriel Fuentes, at my left side, from the Department of Business and Management Science. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
All right, this concludes today's lecture and grant. So Good to see you all, and welcome back next year.